Okay, tell me something. Does this sound like you? You watch programming videos, you feel like you understand everything, and then when it comes to coding yourself, you just draw a blank. You can't do it. Videos and courses are great actually, but they only get you halfway there. You're gonna need a lot of practice to actually become a programmer. I'm gonna show you how to start solving coding problems in this video. By the way, I'm Aaron Jack, remote software developer. If your dream is to become a remote software developer too, that's what this channel is all about, so consider subscribing. All right, what's the best place to start solving basic coding problems? Well, when you're starting out, you want to go to Code Wars, and that's going to be codewars.com. You can just make an account and then have access to all the problems, which you get here in the sidebar. You go to kata. Then you filter by 8 KYU, which is the easiest difficulty, and there's 49 you can just start doing here. These easy problems are still going to be pretty challenging for beginners, but hang in there. You'll get better and better the more you do. Okay, how do you actually start solving these problems? Well, the first thing you need to think is every problem or function is just a way of transforming inputs to outputs. So in this problem, for example, we're converting a name, which is a single string, into a new string, which is just initial.initial. So if it was my name, it would go into the function and then come out like a.j. Fundamentally, we're just transforming this input into this output. And inside our function, we're just going to have a sequence of steps, each of which gets us one step closer. Okay, so we know we need the initials, get initials from name, but we want to break this down into smaller and smaller steps. And ideally, each step would be a single line of code. So what is the first thing we could do to get these initials? Well, we could get each name, or rather each word in the string, first name, last name, separated, because we need the first from each one. So that would be a really good first step. So maybe we want to separate first from last. Then once we have that, we want to do two different things. We get the first initial and we get the last initial. Get first initial, or maybe it's better to write get the first character of first and get the first character of last. Okay, now we have our two main building blocks, so we probably want to combine these back together. So combine with period in the middle. Combine with period, and then that's pretty much it. So we can just return this. Now once we have our steps here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we actually also call these steps pseudocode because they are not exactly code, but they're going to roughly map to our lines of code, like hopefully one for each line, right? But it could be more than that, just to do little things like creating new variables and separating them apart. So what we're then going to do is actually just keep this plan, and we will then put our code next to it and try to write a line of code for each one of these steps. Okay, now the first step might be a split function because we have a string and maybe we want to create into an array of size 2, one with the first name and then one index with the last name. So let's say we know split because we saw it in a tutorial, but we don't remember exactly how to do it. And I hate to break it to you, but guessing never works when you're coding. So what you're going to want to do is something like this, okay? We're going to declare a new variable, and we'll call it first and last, and that's where our array is going to go that's returned from the split function. And this is of course JavaScript, by the way, but you can do this in any language. So I'm going to do name.split, and then we'll split on the empty string character because maybe we don't remember 100% how split works. So I'm going to just close that line, and let me just tell you a huge mistake a lot of programmers make, okay? They try to type a line like this and they think it's going to work, so they just start the next line. But that is the opposite of what you want to do. You should be testing every single line, even if you're 99% sure. If you're not 100% sure, you should be testing every line. So the way you do that is by printing in JavaScript, that's console log, what you just created. And what we're hoping we created was an array of size 2, but we're not sure. So I'll type that out, and then I'll go down to this test button here. And when I do that, I can see that, whoa, okay, this created a really big array with each individual character, which is not actually what we wanted. So now we have to do what's called debugging. That is trying to fix this solution. And the first way we do that is by looking up the documentation, because clearly array, or rather string split, did not work the way we expected. So we're going to get really good at Googling as programmers, and we'll just look up the string split function. And the two authoritative sources are going to be this, W3 Schools and Developer Mozilla. So I'm just going to go to Developer Mozilla, and it will show me a few examples, like right at the top. So yeah, let's say I want like a full word out of a string. Oh yeah, I remember now. Okay, we want to split at the space character. That way we get each word in its own array index. So I'm just going to update that and test it again. And I know this seems like a lot of work for one line, but we got our result we wanted. Now we can move on to get the first character. So I'll just show you one more quicker example of that. So let's say like I want just the first character. So I would do first name character, and then maybe I'm like, okay, first and last, I think I remember 0. You can move this console log down because we don't need it up there anymore. Make sure to change the thing you're logging out, and then test. Then, oh, okay, so we're getting the first word, but not the first character. So maybe I have to do another one of these, and then, okay, finally we got the S. So now we are done with this one, and we can move on to this one. So this is pretty much how you have to go. It seems slow, but you got to trust me. As long as you're making progress, that should feel really good. All right, so let's move on and talk about what happens if you've tried all this and you're still just getting completely stuck. So we're already here on the documentation page, and I'm just going to go back to string, and I can actually see that if I make this window a bit bigger, I can see all the string methods. And in this home page, I can see like different things I can do with strings. So it could be useful to just browse through this and look at the method names and think, okay, is there anything that could help me here that like seems like what I'm trying to do, or maybe it'll just give you an idea. And this can be really, really, really helpful. So if you're like, okay, yeah, I forget how to like split a string apart, and you're just browsing through, you're like, oh, okay, we have split, we have slice, maybe I'll open both of these in new tabs, and then I'll look at each one, and oh, okay, this is what slice does, this is what split does. And you got to realize that even if this is not going to be used in your solution, you're still remembering what these do. So that's really actually helping you. So every little thing you look up, it's actually making you a better programmer. Don't forget that. Now inevitably, even with all these tools, you will get stuck. So what do you do in that case, and when do you give up? Well, what I would say is, if you're completely stuck and you've given it a real try, that is like looking through the docs and you just really can't come up with anything, I would limit the time you're completely stuck to 10 minutes or less. Then what you do from there is you can actually look at the solution, and it's totally fine. And a lot of people will say, don't do it, but at a certain point, you're not learning anymore, so you have to do it. So in Code Wars, you can hit show me the solutions, give up, you lose the ability to earn honor, and then it'll show you these solutions. Okay, now when you're looking at this solution, you actually want to reverse engineer the problem. So let's say you had the steps written out like we did. You want to think, okay, what part of this is separating first from last? Oh, it's right here. Okay, name array, name split. Now what's getting the first character? Oh, it's this. Okay. Yeah, I forgot you could do that. And then combine with periods. Okay, it's in the same line. So you can kind of start to break it down and link it to your plan. Okay, which is exactly what you want to do. Create those mental links. Okay, let's say in a different case you got your plan wrong, or you just couldn't think of how to make it. This is the time where you want to do that in reverse. So you'll say like, oh, okay, so what's happening here? Oh, I see. That needed to be my first step. So now you can create this step that maybe you were missing before. Or if you didn't have any of the steps, you can just create this whole plan from scratch, right? So fundamentally, you want to create a mental link between this and fill in the missing pieces. And that's how you're really going to learn from these solutions. Okay, let's say you've filled in the gap now. You feel pretty good that you understand the solution. What do you do next? Well, you want to actually go back to the problem itself. Let's see if I can find my way back there. And you want to edit your code, and you want to see if you really do remember the solution. So try to write it in without looking. And then if you forget, just go back to the solution, but really try not to copy it word for word. Try to kind of just do it from memory as much as you can. Now, here is how you really remember it, okay? So let's say you typed out a working solution. Instead of submitting it, just hit test again. And then once it works from the test, you just want to hit reset and then just reset it. And here's what you do. Keep this tab open on your computer, then come back to it in 1 or 2 days and see if you still remember. You can save your plan, whether you write it out on paper or in a whiteboard app like this, and just try to rebuild it from the bottom up and see if you do really remember it. If you do remember it, then you can finally hit attempt and submit the working answer. If you don't, just repeat the process. Go back to the solution, see what part you forgot, wait another 2 days. And this is how you're really going to learn it. So I know this is a lot more work than just kind of looking at the editor, trying different things, testing it. But trust me, it's going to be worth the extra time. And you're actually kind of wasting your time if you're not doing it this way. Trust me. Okay, quick recap. Practice problems are what separates the real programmers from the perpetual video watchers. You want to start doing them as soon as possible, and I highly recommend Code Wars, which is free and has some good, easy problems. Think of every problem as just transforming inputs to outputs, and each step in your line of code is doing that little by little. You're going to want to break the solution down into steps and then ask how to create the code for that step. If you have some blanks in your house, like you don't know how to do one of the steps, well then go to the docs first for that. Then you're going to want to test each line by writing in console logs or print statements, or just testing it in the console. If you're completely stuck, look at the solution, write it out yourself, and then try it again another day to see if you remembered. If you do this for enough problems, you're going to be producing solutions easily. I have complete confidence in you. Anyway, hope that helps. I'm Aaron Jack, remote software developer, and if that's your goal, subscribe for more videos. I'll see you soon.